Well, I just want to take a tangent because you and I got into like a heated argument last time. Mm-hmm. You said that I was stupid for paying $15,000 a month rent for a mansion in Calabasas. No. We're gonna dissect this. Okay. Because I didn't have all the facts in front of me.
Okay.
And I'm gonna show you what it is right now. Okay. I'm gonna break down how spending $15,000 a month is not actually stupid. Okay. So I said it was a $5 million house last time. I'm going to actually give you some leeway and say I'm renting a $4 million house. Because at the time, that's about how much it cost. Okay. So you take a $4 million house. You put down 20%. Okay. That's $800,000.
All right.
So you take $800,000 and you give it to the bank, never to be seen again. You have a 30-year term. Property taxes, home insurance, various costs and stuff like that. Right? Let's actually take out the various costs.
You always want to prove he's motherfucker. Prove he's right. Go ahead.
Your mortgage payment for 30 years is $20,000 a month. Plus, when you got to fix the roof, when the heater goes out, the air conditioning goes out, everything else like that. At the end of those 30 years, you would pay $7.3 million for that $4 million house. But you're telling me spending $15,000 a month is stupid.
But this is what sounds crazy about what you said.
Okay.
If I take $800,000, why do I need a $4 million house? I could just take $800,000 and buy me a house. Maybe I can catch me a house in Sugar Land, Texas or somewhere for like
away from everything. Well, I wasn't living in Sugar Land, Texas.
If I go to Houston,
I was living in Calabasas.
Well,
where
if I go to Houston
is.
with that $800, I'm gonna get a palace for that. So I wouldn't spend that kind. Sometimes it don't make sense.
But now you're switching the argument. Now you're talking about something else. I'm talking about why was I spending $15,000 a month and why you're saying it was crazy. So I was spending $15,000 a month, and here's the thing: when you spend, that $20,000 loan payment. Mm-hmm. That mortgage payment, do you know that it's almost 100% interest?
But that's living beyond your means. You don't need to do that.
I'm not saying living beyond. I'm just saying this was my means at the time. So
if I got $800,000, I could go buy, like I said, I could go buy maybe 2 pieces of property in Houston, or maybe I can go to Florida and buy a nice house. Why would
let's go down to $3 million.
Regardless to what? What's the difference between? Listen, what's the difference between a $5 million house and a $500,000 house?
Depends where you are. In LA, $500,000 will get you a shack.
Okay.
If that.
But what would $500,000 get me in Houston?
Do you have any work in Houston? Like, I can't work in,
it doesn't matter.
I can't be in bumfuck, like Houston is cool, but I'm saying in the middle of nowhere, I can't be out there.
Listen,
how can I do work if I'm in Seattle somewhere? If I'm in Ohio.
I'm just the type of guy that I love to get a deal out of what I spend my money on. So I'm not gonna. You said you spend how much a month? What was it? 15?
At one point, 15? I spent like $15,000 a month. Yeah.
15,000? Yeah. No, I can go get a palace for $15,000 a month. Either in Florida,
not in Calabasas, not in LA. Not in Manhattan.
Everybody's getting robbed in LA.
Not in New Jersey.
Niggas getting robbed on
Long
Rodeo.
Island.
You spend all that money to live in LA to get robbed on Rodeo. Listen, I would take my Houston,
You're just changing
Florida.
The subject, man. You're just changing the subject.
You're
trying to get around the argument.
All I'm saying is $15,000 a month is a lot.
Okay,
I lived in Manhattan.
I lowered the price. I recalculated. I lowered the price to $3 million. A $3 million house, you put down $600,000. Your mortgage payments are $15,000 a month. That $15,000 for the first 10 years is almost no principal. You're basically paying rent to the bank. So why not just pay rent to a landlord?
But why we not
put $600,000 or $800,000 down, stack your money, invest it. Then $800,000 could turn into $2 or $3 million. And you can buy it outright.
Why are we not getting a house for $500,000 though?
How much is your house?
About
the house you live in?
About $1 million.
$1 million. Yep. Okay, it's not $500,000. Did you buy cash?
If I could have started...
Do you have a mortgage?
I don't want to get into all that personal. But listen, all I'm saying to you is this, right? If I would have knew what I knew, because I bought that house, I was 25, 26, I would have went for a house cheaper. I would have went for a house for $500,000. I'm just being honest. But when Shy Money's girlfriend turned into a real estate agent and old boy baby moms turning a real estate agent, and they was coming to me and they was saying, buy a house, because I was spending all this money living in Manhattan, spending an arm and a leg, living in a 3-bedroom apartment. It was me, Banks, and that was it. We had 3 bedrooms. But Banks was hardly there. But the mortgage, that probably at that time, 04, 05, it was at least $9,000-$10,000 a month.
Right.
To live in Manhattan, 3-bedroom, and you ain't getting shit.
Right. And you know something? When you sold that house, you probably, like, all those mortgage payments did not come off the principal. So if that house, if that like condo cost $1 million, when you sold it, you still had $1 million you owed on it. You see what I'm saying? So what I'm saying is, like, people are like, oh, you're renting, you're throwing money away. No, renting makes a lot of sense for certain situations. I feel that if you can't buy a house in cash outright, you should probably rent.
Right.
That's all I'm saying. I'm just saying you called me an idiot for spending $50,000 a month. They was like, I agree with Tony. Like, no. Y'all don't understand the big picture. That's why I need to break down the numbers for you.
I just feel like you can get more. I'm a Haitian, bro. You can get more for your money somewhere in Florida.
Sure, if you go to Haiti, you could buy a compound for $50,000.
What I'm saying is, like I said, we could look up houses in, I'll give you a good example. Sugar Land, Texas. I love it out there, right?
Yeah. You want to live out there permanently?
I think
can't do Vlad TV for living in Sugar Land, Texas.
I mean, I could be back and forth. It's cool. I always keep a place in New York.
How much money you spend flying first class back and forth? Think about all those costs.
I got air miles and stuff.
Those will run out eventually. You'll not use points for the rest of your life.
I'm using my air miles from the Swiss out.
A first class flight from New York to Texas is probably about $1,500 each way. Maybe 3,000,
it depends.
2,500 round trip.
It depends.
Then you got the hotel bills, right? You're not going to be staying at the Motel 6. You're going to be staying at a nice 4-star, maybe 5-star hotel. That's about $300 a night. You see, let's start adding up the money. But
what I'm saying to you is, I will always keep a place in New York.
Okay, so now you got another mortgage in New York. Let's talk about that. Mm-hmm. Let's talk about the other mortgage in New York that you're spending money on.
And then get a nice spot in like Houston or like Florida or something.
Okay. All I'm saying is it's not so cut and dry. It's not so cut and dry.
I might be still spending less than you.
Okay.
You're spending $15,000 a month.
Whereas I'm living where I want to live, and you're living in bumfuck, Texas.
I love Texas. Texas got good food, great food.
Listen, I like Texas too,
minus the weather storms.
Shout out to my man Willie D. I'm supposed to go do his podcast, but I'm just saying, like,
the Ghetto Boys, one of my favorite.
And I'm not talking about Houston. You're not getting Houston for no $800,000, a really nice place. No,
what?
No, not in Houston. You got to go to Sugar Land somewhere.
No, Houston. I mean, that's the same thing. It's right there. So you can go anywhere in Houston. You spend $800,000. I'm gonna get something nice, bro. Crazy? I'm gonna be sitting on some land.
$800,000?
Yeah.
You gonna get a mansion for $800,000?
Bro, I would get a nice piece of the pie for $800,000.
It won't be a mansion. Houston's still a hot area. You can't go to an area where there's like a hot area, there's a lot of jobs, a lot of industry, a lot of work, a lot of money, and not spend any money on property.
I'm just saying,
it doesn't work that way.
To me, that's just not a good investment to spend $15,000 a month renting. I would say.
I mean, we can agree to disagree.
I would tell people, and look, or you just mad because all the people in your comments were saying I'm right.
But
they agreed with me.
But you're not right. That's the whole point.
They agreed with me.
Listen, like most people, most working class people think, oh, $15,000 is crazy until you run the numbers, because they're not spending $15,000. You see what I'm saying? They're spending $2,000 a month, so they think it's stupid. But in fact, when you're dealing with these multi-million-dollar properties, you start running the numbers. A lot of times, renting is cheaper than buying.
Vlad, but everybody's not buying a multi-million-dollar property. People are looking for houses at $300,000, $400,000, and they're happy with that.
All right, so
see me, I don't mind. Like I said, I have these conversations with people. Like, ain't nothing wrong with buying a house for $300,000, $400,000. Just because you see these rappers fucking buying all this shit and doing all this shit, and living the image, you don't have to do that. You can go live your life. I would be happy in the house for $300,000, $400,000.
All right, $800,000 house, 20% down. That's $160,000.
Yep.
So you got to cough up $160,000, and you're paying $4,000 a month in mortgage. After coughing up $160,000, does that sound like a good deal to you?
It sounds better than paying that $15,000.
Because the house is only $800,000, not $4 million.
Just saying, it sounds better.
You're not getting the same house either.
I don't have to
but
get
what
a
I'm
house
saying, a
for
$4,000 a month mortgage after coughing up $160,000 cash, which is gone forever, is not all that great either.
If I would have knew, I would have got a house for $500,000 instead of trying to get a house for $1 million back in the days. I'm just telling you.
If you were my friend back then, you know what I would tell you?
What?
How much money do you have right now? Like okay, you got a big record out, you got this, blah, blah, blah. How much can you put aside? You have $500,000 in cash? Dump all that in the house. You own the house outright. All you pay is property taxes.
Yeah, of course.
Now you know that the bank can't take it from you. Because here's what happens also. You could be in a mortgage for 25 years. You start missing payments, they'll take the house from you and not pay you back what you paid.
The average mortgage is about 30 years.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. Like, it's not... I've always felt that the mortgage game is the coldest hustle that the banks have ever done.
No, I agree with you.
Owning a home is the American dream. Don't you want to live the American dream? You know, like all these people, like, for example, like who were in Altadena, you know, where the fires hit. It was like the first area in California where black people could buy land, right? Muhammad Ali had a house there. Like, it goes back like that. That whole area burned down during the Eaton fire. And a lot of those people didn't have home insurance. Gone.
But ain't something going on in Cali where it's fucked up anyway? Like, they're not letting people fix up their shit or like build their shit up?
That's not true. No. But there was a lot of insurance companies dropped fire insurance. Like, for example, my house.
And that was before the fires.
Before the fires. Like, I found out that State Farm dropped us after the fire started, and I couldn't get new insurance because none of the other carriers were taking on new policies. So luckily I had a real estate agent that found me something called the Fair Act.
You don't find that kind of strange?
What's that?
You don't find that kind of strange?
Well, no. I think the insurance companies knew what was about to happen based on global warming and, you know, everything else like that. I think it's just common sense. Listen, like, and they've been taking people's, you know, insurance payments for decades and just walked away with all that money and never had to pay out nothing because they dropped everybody.
That's fucking crazy.
It's crazy. It's crazy.
So all the fires that just happened, nobody's house is insured like that?
No, a lot of people's houses were insured. But the thing about insurance is that you only have to have insurance if you have a mortgage because the bank is trying to protect their investment. But if your house is paid off, it's up to you whether you want insurance or not. So a lot of these older black families that have been living in this neighborhood for, you know, got the house from their grandparents when they passed away. And, you know, it was like my man, Michael Jai White, his wife's parents were there. They lost their house. Luckily, they had insurance. But a lot of these families that own the house outright, you know, they got it from their mom, dad, whatever else, no mortgage payments. They were probably like, oh, I don't need insurance. Insurance is expensive. House burns down. Only thing they have left is the land. That's all they can sell.
You always need insurance on anything.
Yeah.
Fuck
yeah.